She sent me a screenshot of my couch, sitting on someone else's front porch, 3 states away. That's the moment I knew. $218,000. That's what one woman took from 341 people over 6 years. Furniture that never existed, deliveries that never happened, a business that was never real. I was victim number 112, and for 11 months, I thought I was the only one. It started on a Tuesday night. I was scrolling through a home decor group on Facebook, 40,000 members, all posting photos of their living rooms. And there she was, a woman running a small furniture shop, warm, personal, remembered your kid's name in the comments, the kind of seller who felt like a friend before you ever spent $1. I sent her $3,800 for a 7-piece sectional. It never came. By the time this story ends, she's sitting in a courtroom in front of a judge with a case number attached to her name and a row of her victims sitting behind the prosecutor. She thought she got away with it. She was wrong. Here's exactly how she pulled it off and how 300 strangers took her down. My husband Marcus and I had just closed on our first house outside Columbus, Ohio. 4 years of saving, rice and beans, no eating out, the whole thing. We walked into an empty living room with one folding camp chair and $6,000 left to furnish the entire house. I want you to understand something. I wasn't naive. I had a master's degree. I worked in logistics. Reading shipping contracts and manifests was literally my job. If anyone should have caught this coming, it should have been me. That's the thing about a scam that actually works. It's built to catch busy, trusting people at exactly the wrong moment. Her name online was Dana Caldwell. Her business, Hearthstone Home and Furnishings, and she didn't build trust the way you'd expect. She never ran a single ad. Instead, she spent months just commenting. "Love that lamp, where's it from? Your kitchen is gorgeous." Nothing about her business, just warmth, over and over, until she felt like someone you already knew. Then she posted a photo, a gray boucle sectional in a gorgeous staged living room. "Finally got this beauty out to a customer in Michigan. She said it was so worth the wait." Dozens of comments underneath, gushing. "Best furniture I've ever bought. She's so patient and sweet." What I didn't know yet, what would take investigators years to prove, is that some of those glowing reviews came from real customers. Because in year 1, some orders actually did ship. Real furniture, real deliveries, just enough to build a wall of trust she could hide behind for years. When I messaged her about a sectional, she answered in 20 minutes. Not a script, real questions. What room is it for? Do you have pets? Kids? She sent me 4 fabric options. 3 days later, completely unprompted, she remembered my anniversary was coming up. It didn't feel like a sales pitch. It felt like a friendship. And that's exactly what made it work. She only accepted Zelle. Keeps prices low, she said, no processing fees. What she didn't say is that Zelle isn't like a credit card. There's no dispute process, no chargeback. Once you hit send, that money is gone the way cash is gone, and there's almost nothing your bank can do about it. There was no website, no shopping cart, no return policy in writing, just a friendly voice in a chat window telling you not to worry. When I asked for a receipt, she sent a screenshot of an invoice built in some basic template. At the time, I thought, cute, small business, doesn't have fancy software yet. I didn't know there was no software because there was no business behind it at all. And every time delivery slipped, there was always a new, specific, and sympathetic reason. A fabric mill delay, a truck breakdown. We're prioritizing military families this month. You're right after them. Each excuse was just believable enough and just guilt-inducing enough that pushing back felt cruel. On October 14th, I sent Dana $3,800. I remember exactly how it felt hitting send. Relief, excitement. I texted my sister a photo of the sectional. Living rooms finally coming together. Zero hesitation. None. 4 weeks later, that feeling was gone. 6 weeks after I paid, my sectional still hadn't shown up. I messaged her. She apologized, sent me a tracking number, promised it was on the way. I looked up that tracking number myself. It had already been delivered 3 weeks earlier to an address in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I have never lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I sent her the screenshot. Her reply came back almost instantly. "Oh no, that's so strange. The shipping company must have mixed up labels. Let me call them right now." A new tracking number promised within 48 hours. It never came. Over the next 2 weeks, I sent 9 messages, got 4 replies, each vaguer than the last. Following up with the warehouse. "So sorry, it's the holidays. I promise I haven't forgotten you." Then, on December 2nd, Dana posted in the group again. A brand new photo, a brand new fabric option, a flash sale on ottomans. And that's when the floor dropped out from under me. Because if her business was really struggling with a fabric mill delay, a broken truck, a real logistics disaster, she would not be actively selling to brand new customers while dozens of us sat there with nothing. There was no warehouse. There had never been a warehouse. There was no fabric mill. There had never been a truck. There was just her. I typed Hearthstone Home Scam into Facebook's search bar. What came back stopped me cold. A woman in Georgia, a dining set, ordered in August, never delivered. A man in Tennessee, $2,200, a bed frame for his wife, gone. A mother of 3 in Indiana, her entire tax refund, $5,400, spent on a living room set she'd saved for since spring. Every single one of them thought they were the only one. None of them knew the others existed. By the end of that week, I'd found 11 more people like me. By the end of the month, 34. And almost every one of them told me the same thing before they told me anything else. They were embarrassed, ashamed. Several hadn't even told their own spouse how much money was gone. One woman had been quietly delaying her mortgage payment because she couldn't bring herself to admit where the money had actually gone. That shame isn't an accident. It's the whole reason schemes like this survive for years instead of months. I did everything you're supposed to do. I called my bank. They told me, gently, that because I'd sent the money myself through Zelle, there was almost nothing they could do. No card network, no chargeback, no protection. I filed a police report. The officer was kind but honest. Without more evidence, this was probably a civil matter, and a case this size, with a suspect possibly out of state, wasn't going to get major resources from a small department. I filed with the FTC. I filed with the FBI's IC3. Both confirmed they'd received it. Neither told me anything more. I sat at my kitchen table that night, $3,800 gone. One folding camp chair in an empty living room, and realized something: nobody was coming to fix this for me. If I wanted my money back, I was going to have to find her myself. She'd built herself a fortress, a business name that was never legally registered anywhere. No address, no phone number, just a Gmail account and a chat window. Every payment funneled through personal Zelle handles and a PayPal account tied to no real business at all. And when things got too hot, she'd simply disappear the page. Facebook glitched and deleted everything, so annoying. A new name would rise in its place, Hearthstone Home Co., then the Hearth and Home Collective, each one shedding her angriest victims like dead skin, while she rebuilt trust with a whole new audience who had no idea what came before. It's a pattern investigators call phoenixing. Burn the name, keep the person, keep the money moving. But here's what she didn't understand. You can rename a Facebook page as many times as you want. You cannot rename a bank account. I built a spreadsheet: name, state, amount lost, date, payment method. I posted in every scattered group I could find. I think we're all victims of the same person. If you want your money back, message me. 2 weeks in, 61 names. 3 months in, over 200. Then I asked everyone the same question. What exact Zelle number or PayPal email did you send money to? And that's when it clicked into place. Every single rebrand, no matter what she called the business, the money always funneled back to one of the same 3 accounts, and every one of those accounts traced back to a single real name, Dana Michelle Calloway. Not Caldwell, Calloway. Her actual last name, one letter swap away from the fake one, hiding in plain sight the entire time. Once I had her real name, everything cracked open. A residential address outside Cincinnati, a different business registered 6 years earlier, quietly dissolved for failing to file paperwork. And then, the part that genuinely stopped me, a small claims judgment against her from 4 years before, filed by a completely different customer from a completely different fake storefront. This wasn't her first scheme, it was her third. I reached out to that old plaintiff. She was stunned to learn Dana was still doing this, years later, at a scale 10 times bigger. She sent me her old messages with Dana, and the wording was almost identical to what my 200 victims had received. So sorry, I promise I haven't forgotten about you. Same script, just refined. Then a few of the women in my group started digging through her customer delivery photos, reverse image search, and what we found was almost funny if it wasn't so infuriating. Some of those photos weren't customers at all. They were stock images lifted straight from furniture retailer websites, watermarks quietly cropped out. We had her name, we had her money trail, we had 200 victims and over $400,000 in documented losses. But here's the thing nobody tells you. One victim filing a loan almost never gets a real investigation. A federal agency isn't going to move heaven and earth for a single $3,800 loss. 200 victims with names, dates, and dollar amounts organized into one file? That's a completely different animal. We pooled money for a consumer protection attorney. She helped us package everything, victim statements, financial records, the old judgment, into something a prosecutor could actually use. We resubmitted to the FTC, we resubmitted to the FBI, and we filed directly with the Ohio Attorney General's office, since that's where Dana actually lived. 6 weeks later, my phone rang. An investigator from the Attorney General's office, wanting to talk. I thought we finally had her. I was wrong. Not yet. 8 months into the investigation, Dana vanished. Her Facebook page deleted, her personal profile gone. For 3 weeks, we didn't know if she'd been tipped off, if she'd destroyed everything, if she was already gone. Then she resurfaced. Not on Facebook this time, Instagram. A new name, Willow and Oak Interiors. Same writing style, same stolen photos. Same Zelle handle. Because changing your name is easy. Changing your bank account is a hassle. And that hassle is exactly what let us find her again in 4 days instead of months. There was one more problem. Some of her earliest victims, people scammed under her very first fake business 6 years back, were dangerously close to running out of time to legally claim anything at all. Our attorney had to argue this wasn't a string of separate incidents. It was one continuous scheme, one pattern, still happening right now. And then came the subpoena. Her actual bank records, something none of us could have ever gotten on our own. They showed incoming payments from at least 290 identifiable victims, swept out almost as fast as they arrived into transfers that had nothing to do with furniture at all. 14 months after I hit send on that $3,800 Zelle payment, the state of Ohio filed criminal charges against Dana Michelle Calloway. Theft by deception, engaging in a pattern of corrupt activity, a charge built specifically for schemes like this, years long, repeated, deliberate. I sat in that courtroom for the arraignment. It wasn't cinematic, it was quiet. A public defender, a judge reading charges in a flat voice. But behind the prosecutor's table sat 11 of us, 11 of the roughly 300 people she'd taken from. And for the first time in over a year, I didn't feel like the one idiot who got scammed. I felt like part of something that actually worked. She pled guilty to reduced charges in exchange for full cooperation, including a complete accounting of what was left, incarceration, probation, and a restitution order as a condition of her sentence. A group of us also pursued a civil judgment because criminal restitution orders are famous for being impossible to actually collect if there's no money left to take. So, how much did we actually get back? Not all of it, I need to be honest about that, because too many of these stories promise a perfectly clean ending, and that's not how this works in real life. Investigators recovered just under $91,000 still sitting in her account, a paid-off car, sold, proceeds going straight into restitution, and a wage garnishment order that would keep paying out slowly for years. In total, roughly 61% of everything documented was eventually recovered. I personally got back $2,900 of my original $3,800. Not everything, but far more than the zero I'd already made peace with. Most online purchase scam victims get back nothing. Zero. The only reason this was different wasn't luck. It was 200 people refusing to stay quiet, and one spreadsheet that turned 200 separate humiliations into one undeniable case. Here's the part that actually stayed with me. Everyone assumed there was some big dramatic reason. Gambling, a hidden lavish lifestyle, something that would make sense of it all. The truth was quieter, and somehow worse. A third of the money just went to rent, car payments, groceries. At some point, this stopped being a get-rich scheme and just became how she paid her bills, new victims covering the hole left by the last ones. Another chunk went into a real, legitimate small business she'd opened under her own name, one that was also failing and that she was trying to keep alive using our money. The rest just disappeared into years of cash withdrawals nobody could trace. No yacht, no secret double life, just 341 people's trust quietly converted into rent checks and a boutique that failed anyway. If there's one thing I need you to take from this, it's this. If a seller only takes Zelle, Venmo, or friends and family PayPal and won't take a card, that's not a discount. That's the removal of every protection you have. Search the business name with the word scam before you ever send $1. Check your state's business registry. It takes 2 minutes. And if delivery keeps slipping with a new, deeply sympathetic excuse every single time, stop asking questions politely and start asking them out loud, publicly, where other victims can find you. Because the truth is, if it happened to you, it already happened to someone else. And the moment you stop being ashamed and start comparing notes, that's the moment people like Dana stop getting away with it. If this happened to you, or almost happened to you, tell me in the comments. I promise you, you are not the only one.